Hey everybody, this is Francesco Abbruzzino with another live and unedited Rogue Rant. What am I discussing today? What am I ranting about today? George Orwell's 1984 and its relationship to war. Orwell's warning that the future was presented as a period piece that is remote and unthreatening. It was as if Snowden had revealed nothing. Big Brother was not a digital eavesdropper, and Orwell himself had never said to be corrupted by totalitarianism, one does not have to live in a totalitarian country. As advanced societies are depoliticized, the changes are both subtle and spectacular in many ways. In everyday discourse, political language is turned on its head, as Orwell had prophesied in 1984. Democracy is now a rhetorical device. Peace is perpetual war. Global is imperial. The one hopeful concept of reform now means regression, even destruction. Austerity is the imposition of extreme capitalism on the poor and the gift of socialism for the rich, an ingenious system under which the majority of services the debts of very few. Western Europeans are really enjoying austerity, aren't they? Many liberals wonder why people are so angry with Barack Obama, who is so cool and only wishes to build a strong economy and healthcare. They often forget that Obama's 7 wars, including his terror campaign by drone, in which whole families, the rescuers and mourners, have been murdered. Americans have been murdered. What seemed to matter was that a finely spoken man of color had risen to the commanding heights of power. As the Iraq city of Mosul fell to the jihadist ISIS, Obama said the American people made huge investments and sacrifices in order to give Iraqis the opportunity to chart a better destiny. Wow! How great was that lie? How about the finely spoken speech that Obama gave at West Point back in May, delivering his State of the World address at the graduation ceremony of those who will take American leadership across the world? Obama said the United States will use military force unilaterally if necessary when our core interests demand it. International opinions matter, but hey, America will never ask for permission. In repudiating international law and the rights of independent nations, the U.S. President claims a divinity based upon his might of his indispensable nation, the mighty United States. In February, the U.S. mounted one of its many nation-building coups against the elected government in Ukraine, exploiting genuine protest against corruption in Kiev with millions of dollars in financing. Obama's Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland was caught on tape describing what the new puppet government will look like, and personally selected the leader of the interim government. For the first time since 1945, folks, a neo-Nazi, openly anti-Semitic party controls key parts of power in a European capital. No Western leader has condemned this revival of fascism in the borderland through which Hitler invaded with his Nazis and took millions of Russian lives. They were supported by the UPA, which is responsible for the massacre of Jews and Russians that they tend to call vermin. The UPA is a historical inspiration of the present-day Svoboda Party and his fellow traveling right sector. The Svoboda leader is called for a purge of all Moscow Jewish mafia and other scum, including gays, feminists, and those of the political left. NATO's membership action plan is Washington's gift to the coup regime in Kiev. In August, Operation Rapid Trident will put American and British troops on the Ukrainian-Russian border. And Seabreeze will send U.S. warships within the sight of Russian ports. Imagine the response if these acts of provocation or intimidation were carried out here on America's borders, folks. In reclaiming Crimea, the Russians defended themselves as they have done for almost a century over this territory. More than 90% of the population of Crimea has voted to return to the territory in Russia. Crimea is the home of the Russians' Black Sea Fleet, and its loss would mean life or death for the Russian Navy and would be a great prize for NATO. Confounding the war parties in Washington and Kiev, Putin's decided to pull his troops back from the Ukraine and urge ethnic Russians to calm down, not to abandon the whole separatism issue. In Orwellian fashion, this has been inverted in the West to the Russian threat. Hillary Clinton likened Putin to Hitler. Without irony, right-wing German commentators said as much. In the media, the Ukrainian neo-Nazis are sanitized as ultra-nationalists. What they fear is that Putin is skillfully seeking a diplomatic solution and may succeed. Obama and Kerry issued yet another of their many ultimatums stating that Russia must act within the next few hours to end the revolt in eastern Ukraine, notwithstanding that Kerry is widely recognized as a buffoon. The serious purpose of the warning is to confer pariah status on Russia and suppress the news of Kiev's regime war on its own people, who they are now calling terrorists. How about Iraq? They embargoed infants, and in Afghanistan liberated women and girls terrorized by the CIA warlords. These ethnic people of Ukraine are media unpeople in the West. Their suffering and their atrocities committed against them minimized or suppressed. No sense of the scale of the regime's assault is reported in mainstream Western media. This is unprecedented, folks. Unprecedented. In essence, this is the return of George Orwell's Big Brother war on Palestine, Ukraine, and truth. After all, a liberal, one-way, legal, and moral screen with Orwellian propaganda ensures an impunity for the war and its grand deception. This has been Frank with another Rogue Rant.